And I just want to thank Mr. Tony for allowing me to come here and tell you about my ministry, and I want to thank all of you also. Like Mr. Tony said, I did start my ministry. Now it's been over 20 years. But let me back up a little bit, okay? My name is Graciela McLaughlin, okay? Now, way back when I was born in Mexico. And in Mexico around that time, parents had the habit of giving their kids long names, okay? Because you had to include the father, you had to include the mother. So even though they call me Miss Grace, all my homeless people call me Miss Grace, my real birth given name is Maria Graciela Camargo Salais Rodriguez, and because I'm married, then McLaughlin. Okay. Now you can see why they call me Miss Grace. So again, I started my ministry in Los Angeles, California. Started going down to Skid Row in LA. At the time, I was taking medical class, and part of my requirements to get my certificate is I had to have certain amounts of blood pressures done. And after I went through my whole family, I thought, well, where else am I going to get all these other numbers that I need? And I had always had a passion for the underserved. So I started going down to Skid Row with my blood pressure cuff, doing blood pressures on the homeless, okay? So that's where it all began. After moving to Ohio about 15 years ago, me and my husband came down here on a whim. We said, well, we've always...
on a whim?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay. We were living in San Francisco at the time. And it worked out pretty well because my husband had just recently been laid off from an IT job, and we're waiting for him to get something else. And an opportunity presented himself for him in Dayton. So we said, why not? We've always lived
decided, let's go to Dayton.
We've always lived in Southern California pretty much. So we came here, and I just gotta say, Dayton has been a blessing for me personally, because this is where I started my ministry. This is where I came back to Christ. I had a near-death experience that kind of brought it all home to me, and that really was like the catalyst for me, knowing that, I got so close to exiting. But here I am. And so I knew that God had bigger plans for me. And so I started thinking about what can I do while I'm here in Dayton. I was at the time in between jobs looking for employment. And I said, well, I need to break my time up. Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy. So I started doing homeless ministry here, just like I had been doing in Los Angeles. So after I did that for a while, again, just things presented themselves to me. God made it possible for me to start my nonprofit. We are in 501c3 nonprofit, and it's called Amazing Grace Empowerment Ministries. And the way we empower people is we empower them through educational workshops. That entails life skills workshops, nutrition, self-esteem, all those kind of good things that help people bring themselves up. So that's how we empower people. So a big component of the ministry is homeless ministry, but we also do a lot of other things. We have a puppet ministry called Puppets for Jesus, where we go to nursing homes. We do after-school programs with children. What else? I mean, we do so much. And I have some handouts to give to you guys. We just created a website, so I'd love it if you guys could visit us on the website. And we don't get any government money. And that's kind of deliberate on my part, because I thought, if you really believe in God, let him do his work. Let him do what he's good at. And also because I didn't want the government posing restrictions on the ministry. So everything that we're able to do, we do it through earth angels. I call them earth angels, that donate their time, their money to the ministry. So we clothe the homeless, we feed them, and hopefully I'll be able to start doing eye exams on the homeless. You give me an idea. And we do a lot of our work here in Dayton, but really, I feel like I'm always telling God, expand my horizons. So that's what he's been doing. He's been opening doors in other places. We've started going down to Cincinnati and doing the same thing there. So we're kind of branching out, trying to, just help the homeless, the underserved. My husband is always getting on my case because I go under railroad bridges. Sometimes I go by myself. Sometimes I take people with me. I go under railroad bridges. We feed, we clothe, we go into abandoned buildings, and just promote God and promote the ministry and just help anybody that is in need. What else can I say? I mean, I like to say that we're a little mustard seed, but watch us grow. That is my dream, that God will open doors for us, that we're able to reach more people. My dream is to eventually start the same thing in California, Southern California, because for a while I've been feeling like God is calling me back to where it all started. So I'd love to go back to downtown Skid Row and continue doing work there. And I have had opportunities to travel to other parts to do the same thing, ministry work. We've been to Washington, D.C., where there's a big homeless population. We've been to Los Angeles, different places. And I feel like...
If you go back to California, does that mean that your work here...
Oh, no, this is our home base. We are here for the long term. And I just ask people like you, good, kind-hearted people, to help me by promoting the ministry. Let other people know about the ministry. I don't have a big group of people. We're all volunteers, including myself. I don't get a salary. I work part-time at the Wesley Community Center. But God is so good, because even though I only work part-time there, I'm still able to do all the things that God has put in my heart to do. And somehow God brings increase. And we're able to do all the things that we do. Like I said, everybody is a volunteer. So if you know somebody that needs any assistance, you can always contact me. The phone number is on the back of the brochures that I'll be handing out. Check us out on Facebook. And, I'm just asking you, when you're out there and you see homeless people, extend a hand, help them out. Doesn't have to be money-wise, but I've met so many wonderful people in my years of doing homeless ministry, and you just never know what a person carries inside of them until you stop and talk to them. I had one lady who I met doing street ministry, and she was living in a covered garage near the hospital. And she told me her whole story, how she would go and sleep in the covered garage, and the security officers used to let her do that. But they would say to her, okay, early in the morning, you got to be up, get your things, because you got to go before staff and clients start coming. And they would go in the morning and give her a cup of coffee, donuts. That's how they would show their kindness toward her. And she had some mental issues that kept her from being able to have an apartment, things like that. So I met her in the street, and I was able to help her at the time. If you look in the trunk of my car, you see the trunk of my car is never empty. It's always packed to the gills with different things. Food, non-perishable food, clothes, you name it. I carry whatever I can. And when I'm driving around, I see a homeless person, I pull over. I ask them, do you need any help? Do you need this? Do you need that? And, I feel like God blesses us to be a blessing to others. And I try to live by that. How am I doing?
Great. Maybe if you want, we could ask questions.
Okay, sure. Like I said, I'm green at this, okay? Forgive me.